If you've got like a sideline job, you have to tell them about that because there's implications of, you know, is there a conflict of interest with your job? Is it going to interfere with your job? Are you going to be doing this during your work hours, kind of thing? That, you know, but you know, OnlyFans can be done at nights and weekends, so that's fine.
That's what our listeners want to hear. John's on a way.
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
Roads? When we're going, we don't need roads. Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Batman. I am the Father.
We watched, thank you, one battle after another
last
night.
Yeah.
It did make me chuckle a little bit to see Leonardo DiCaprio playing this like anti-capitalist hippie activist when we all know that he's Jeff Bezos's pal and they have parties on super yachts together. So that did give me a chuckle. But I can see, especially having watched it now after all the ICE stuff that's happened, I can see why this is doing well and why the various awards bodies are sort of wanting to associate themselves with it and promote it, because obviously it could be real life, you know?
Yes, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it could be. It's very sort of and considering it's based on like material from maybe like 20, 30 years ago. So yeah, it's interesting the fact that it's come out now. I don't think it's an accident that it's around now in the way that it looks at the military and the way that they deal with people. But then obviously delves into the fact that the counter-revolutionaries, they are very organised and everything as well. They have whole networks set up and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny that, these networks have obviously been set up for like decades, and you're expected to remember all the codes.
I did think, I thought that was really, really funny. Yeah. I said to Crystal, I thought Sean Penn was phenomenal.
Yeah.
In it, like just a fucking mental character, like in the best possible way. Like he's so good in it. But I also said to him, like, not to sound like a tinfoil hat, but I fully believe that like organizations like that Christmas Society exist. And also see that scene where it's like the protesters against the police and the army, and you see the army drop off the guy with the Molotov cocktail so that it start, like, I fully believe that has happened as well as an excuse to start like beating the shit out of civilians basically. So it definitely would have made my top 10 of the year had I obviously seen it
of course,
previous. But it's so interesting, the timing of all of that coming out and the choices that they've made and all that sort of thing. Like even using someone like Sean Penn, who does look like a sort of every kind of craggy Republican that you've ever seen, sort of thing. Yeah, like it's just,
he inhabits the military role very well, doesn't it? The way he walks.
The way he carries himself. Yeah.
Really, it was like a real sort of masterclass. He's obviously spent an awful lot of time working this character and seeing every aspect about him, the way that he talks, even the way that he addresses people. I mean, he's really wee, but he tries to look down on people at the same time.
Yeah, he's constantly getting in their face to try and provoke a reaction as well. What I did love, however, was, I don't know if you watched the Golden Globes, but Sean Penn was smoking the entire time, and like indoors, obviously. And there's pictures of him smoking, but there's also, I can't remember whose speech it is, somebody's acceptance speech, and they're wearing a black dress, and you just see the puddles of smoke going up the front of it as well, because he was obviously sitting in the front row. And I was like, but yeah, I can imagine people be like, excuse me, could you put that out? And I'm just being like, yeah. And then just continued. And then after like the third or fourth time, it's just like, oh, fuck it, just leave him. Just let him smoke. Oh dear, which I particularly enjoyed. Do you want to run through what you've been watching?
Okay, I'll start with TV stuff. Obviously, I've got a bunch of recurring things that I just continually watch anyway, like Blue Bloods and Foyle's War and Poirot and stuff like that, all that kind of good nonsense that just continues. But I've started watching the second season of Daddy Issues, the Amy Lou Wood comedy. It's really, really good. It's on BBC iPlayer, and it's about Amy Lou Wood as a character who, in the first series, she was pregnant, and she's obviously pretty much, well, she's not on her own. She's got her father, but her father's a complete idiot. It's David Morrissey that plays him, and he just plays him as this total bloke that really doesn't know how to do anything. You know, he's kind of lost. His wife's divorced him, and he's just a bit of a mess and everything. But it's cracking. It's really, really funny. It's really well written, and the characters in it are really sharp as well. So, and it's only like 25 minutes long, because obviously it's one of these half-hour comedies. Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. And obviously Amy Lou Wood is on a bit of a career high at the moment with various things, obviously Daddy Issues, and that one is the Playlist one that was on BBC a couple of months ago. The Film Club one, which I think she co-wrote.
She wrote, yeah.
And obviously White Lotus as well. So what else? Oh, Landman, Billy Bob Thornton, oil drama.
Oh, I've seen trailers for
Paramount
that.
Plus. Yeah, I've started watching it. There's 2 seasons of that, and I started watching the first season of that. It's one of these Taylor Sheridan programs. He has written it, and the episodes that I've seen, he's also directed it as well. It's based around an oil town in Texas, and Billy Bob Thornton is the kind of the fixer guy for the oil company. He does sort of the troubleshooting for anything that's going on. He says like there's 2 stages of like an oil company coming into town. There's the first stage where they get everything set up, and he works out all the deals and the rights to go onto land and all this sort of stuff. And he says then it's the running of it, and he says that's the horrible part of it, because it's dealing with all the employees and all the trouble, because it's obviously like all these big sort of macho guys and things like that go out and work on the rigs and all this sort of stuff. And it's really funny actually, because it's mixing up that with, it's like his day-to-day work. Every day is a Monday. He chain smokes because he's so stressed. He's got 2 children. One is sort of late teens, the other one's sort of maybe mid-20s. When he wants to work in the oil industry as well, so he's starting there, which is obviously a headache for him. And his daughter's like this 18-year-old girl who has come to live with him for a while, and she's like really pretty, and she's wandering about like basically with next to nothing in a house full of guys, because he shares this house with these other guys, and they're all kind of like, what the actual fuck? We're trying to do work here, you know. It's your daughter, you know. Can she at least put some trousers on, you know, that kind of thing. So it's really good, and there's obviously some serious storyline in it as well, but there's some like a lot of kind of nice sort of comedic moments, very dry. John Hamm is the ultimate boss of the organisation, so he's in it as well, doing a very fine Texan accent, and it's another good meaty dramatic role for him to get into. So yeah, I was really kind of impressed with that. So it was good. Finished watching the 3rd season of The Diplomat, which is the fairy tale, the fairy tale of what America's like in the world.
Right, okay, yeah.
And that was good, and it's good because it's like a sort of back and forth between the US and Britain and all that, and it's obviously nothing like real life, because there's actually negotiations going on there, and people are wary about what other people actually think and stuff like that. But you know, escapism more than anything else, I suppose you could call that. So, and I started Hunters. Have you seen Hunters? The Al Pacino.
Yes, I watched that a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
Amazon. It was on Amazon Prime back in. It was the start of the pandemic back in 2020. There's 2 seasons of it. It's come to Netflix now, so it's on there. And so these things float about. You know, it can be an Amazon exclusive or whatever for like a couple of years, and then they just lose the rights to it, because that is just the rights thing. If they don't actually make it, if they just buy it, which I think they did with Hunters. So it's now on Netflix, which is great because there's no adverts. Hooray. Yes. And I've been piling through that.
It's a great
I've been
show.
watching like 1 and 2 episodes at a time of this thing, just because it's very easy to watch. And yes, it is a bit fantastical, but you kind of think maybe there's more than a grain of truth in there, because it talks about the Nazis being part of like the space program, and you know, engineers and scientists and all this kind of thing, and they were sort of split between the Russians and the Americans. So yeah, I do like it, and I like Logan Lerman anyway. He's the sort of main young character, and he's very good. So yes, that was excellent. So, yep, that's it in terms of TV. Films, I watched this 1943 film called Minesweeper, which was a bit of a strange wee oddity. It was almost like a recruitment film for the US Navy, because it's all about guys who go in and sort of sweep for mines, and they go into the water and try and find mines and all that the Japanese have put on the coast off of America in order to try and like stop ships getting in and out and all sorts. So it was a bit of a strange film that it had like a romance aspect to it, and it also had an aspect where it was a guy who was actually, he'd absconded from the Navy as a lieutenant, and he somehow got back into it just sort of as a able seaman, just sort of very sort of low level. So it was all right. It was a bit of a strange one, but it's one of these ones. It's Talking Pictures TV. I think they just hoover up these films in bulk and just watch those. Also watched Tokyo Joe, which is a Humphrey Bogart film set post Second World War. His character Joe had a bar called Tokyo Joe's in Tokyo, obviously, and he went back after the war to sort of restart it again, and it's still been going on, but it's run by the Japanese people that he'd employed and all that. So it's all the story about that, and if he figures out that his wife, who he thought had died, wasn't dead as well. So it's kind of a bit of a melodrama. It's famous for the fact that Humphrey Bogart and one of the Japanese characters spend about 5 minutes of the movie just in a judo fight in the bar, because that's what they used to do when they were colleagues before, and they're grappling each other and rolling about on the floor. And I was thinking, don't think it's really necessary.
That doesn't seem very bogey-ish, does it?
I know, and it does actually look in parts like it's him doing it as well. You can tell at some points it's probably a stuntman, but you can tell that he's actually been down there on the floor and stuff as well. So that's a wee bit weird. Oh, forgot to mention second season of Night Manager as well on TV.
Oh, yeah.
Which is excellent. Have you watched any of that yet?
No, because I'm going to have to rewatch the first, because I didn't realise that was out like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I did that as well. It's all on iPlayer. So
so I'll need to catch up with it. Yeah.
Yep. I rewatched Old, the M. Night Shyamalan film from 2001 about the people who go into the beach and start aging rapidly. That's a cracking wee movie. It's like just this very sort of high concept, and they basically age like 8 or 10 years in a day. And it's how it's like young kids going, and then suddenly they're teenagers, and then in their 20s and all that. So yeah, that was really good. I enjoyed that film. It kind of saw him going back to basics in a way, building up everything. He did it independently. He paid for it all and everything as well. So it was it was very, very low budget, because it was like pretty much only like 2-3 locations. So it was all sort of shot on this beach, and it just looks cracking. You can tell it's not just green screened or anything, or what do you call it, volume, the volume that they use for little Star Wars things and all that. So also watched this strange film from 1963. It's a James Mason film called The Deadly Affair. It was written by John le Carre, and it's about this old sort of spy trying to work out why this British diplomat killed himself, and if he did actually kill himself, and there's like a wee conspiracy around that, and how he gets people in to help him out. It's very sort of George Smiley-ish. You can tell there's similarities. It kind of predates Smiley, but there's a lot of similarities in the fact that he's quite a reserved character. He really does know what he's doing, but in the background, his marriage is a complete mess. His wife's a nymphomaniac in this film, which is like, okie dokie, So, and that's part of the problem that he has. His marriage is like a total mess and everything as well. But it's a cracking wee story. Really, really enjoyed that. Which more than that can be said for The Old Guard 2, which was just shite. It was just so bad. I was like, oh man, can't be doing with this at all. It's just nonsense.
Did you give up, or did you watch it the full way?
Oh no, I watched it all the way through, but
bless you.
I'm always an optimist. I think it'll probably get better. Even if the last 20 minutes are a bit better, no chance. Absolutely no chance whatsoever. Oh, cinema-wise, these were all sort of home ones. I've obviously been to one press showing, which I saw Hamnet, which I really enjoyed. There's been a lot of sort of negative press about it. The Guardian eviscerated it. They just said it was dreadful. It was like
Hey.
it was like 1 or 2 stars. Yeah, they hated it. Well,
I
they
thought
hated
this
it,
would
and
be
then they probably
right
liked it
up.
as well.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You would have thought so,
Right
yeah.
up their street. Maggie
Nah.
O'Farrell novel. Don't get me wrong, I couldn't get into the book, but I've read other stuff of hers that I've really enjoyed. But what I've seen of this is like everyone's leaving in tears, and Jessie Buckley's going to get the Oscar. I thought this would be perfect Guardian fodder.
Again, yeah, you'd have thought so, but
wow.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very, very powerful performance by Jessie Buckley in this, and obviously I hadn't read the book, so I didn't really know the story. I knew the basic story, but I didn't know the story of the book. And I was quite surprised about how much attention was paid to what's she's called Agnes in this, rather than she was also known as Anne Hathaway. Although I looked up before I went to see it, and the AI description of the film said, Hamlet based on the life of the wife of William Shakespeare, who is called Agnes, and it said in brackets, played by Anne Hathaway.
Oh my god!
And it's
silly
like, no,
ChatGPT.
they're going to take over the world and corrupt us all.
Yeah.
So, I really like that film, and I really can understand why she's getting all the plaudits that she's getting for performances, because it is really, really good as well. To counter that, I saw it's the worst film I've seen for some time. It's called Giant. It's the story of Prince Nassim Hamed, the boxing film.
Amir El-Masri, who I really like.
Yes.
Oh, no.
And Pierce Brosnan doing an Irish accent, which...
And Irish is in, he could be from anywhere.
Yeah. Irish actor Pierce Brosnan doing all of the Irish accent. North and South. If you've seen him in some of this stuff, he is that. I'm sure there must be a wee YouTube video somewhere of all the different accents he's done, because he has done North and South ones. He was in that film with Jackie Chan where he was like playing.
Oh, kind of like Jerry Adams, wasn't he?
Yeah. So yes, it's been all over the place, and this film is just this happens, that happens, that happens, that happens. But the primary character in it, obviously Prince Nassim character, in real life came across as being horrible and just like totally full of himself and all that. It's exactly the same way in the film, except it's all the time in the film. There's not an off switch. There's no person behind it, and it's just pretty boring the way that it goes, and it's flat. And I know it's based on a real story, but everything about it is just, and it is particularly one-sided as well, because it concentrates on the trainer Brendan more than anything. You get his backstory and his family, except it's a lot of shite about his family, because in the film he has 2 sons, and one of them is a trainer as well with Prince Nassim and a corner person, but he had 2 daughters. And it's like, what the actual fuck? Because you see at the end he's accepting an OBE, and it's his wife and 2 daughters, and you're saying, well, that's a lot of shite. So they've changed aspects of it, and they've just said, right, we're making this boxing drama, so this is going to happen, that's going to happen, that's going to happen. And the fight scenes are not really done very well, and they're short. It starts off with a black and white fight scene, and you're thinking, right, so you're going for Raging Bull here, right? Yeah. Let's see how you measure up against that. Well, after about 5 minutes, that doesn't quite measure up. Thank you very much. Just it's terrible. Dear. It's really, really bad. No. And then on the same day, to counter that, I saw 28 years later, The Bone Temple, which is, in my opinion, brilliant. It's a really, really good film. Yes, I mean, I'm not going to spoil it in any way for you, only to say that it doesn't concentrate on the infected as much. It's
no, and I have heard that. I watched a hilarious interview with Ray Fiennes and the guy who plays Samson, and he was saying that he'd kept Samson's penis, and he was like, so sorry, it's not real, wink. And I was like, I loved their chemistry was so good together in the interview. Now, Simi obviously said, and he delivered it beautifully with a wee bow rap trying to yesterday. I don't know how he does that in the wee group chat, but he said, obviously, it was spectacular. The only thing I must admit that is putting me off is the Jimmy thing. And I saw an article yesterday about Americans who are like putting them on their Hear Me Out cakes and dressing up as him. And I'm like, does Google not exist? over there, like, you must know that this is based on, you know, one of the UK's worst paedophiles, you know, ever. And that, I will say, is putting me off, because I don't think I want that kind of element of it. It's just making me feel really icky, and I'm not sure how big a part of the film that is.
I think it's supposed to make you feel icky. That's part of the point of it, because yes, he was a reviled character, but if Americans look at his biography and what he'd done, they'll kind of go, yeah, he could probably still run for office if he was around. Yeah, he could get in the cabinet.
Prince Andrew, seems like a sound guy.
Well connected. So, yeah, I think you're meant to be put off by the Jimmies, because these people obviously idolise Jim, or Sir Jimmy idolises him because he saw him as a young boy, and he's got no reference point after for the last nearly 30 years.
Of course,
it just cuts off. That's why it's not trying to glorify it, and it's not really done. It's a clever way of doing something like that, because there is no context in that universe.
Because pop culture stopped.
Yes, and what we know now about Jimmy Savile and Prince Andrew and all these people, and sort of the honour system, how it was given out to a lot of people. So the fact that he calls himself Lord Sir Jimmy as well, so it's all part of that, and it's a sly way of having a dig at the whole sort of establishment and the way that they cover things up until people die and all that kind of thing. So yes, you're not meant to be entertained by these Jimmies, and he always says, how's that? He doesn't say how about that, boys and girls, but he says, how's that? Which is not, it's
not quite,
that's the kind of thing that you get where, well, that's like the kind of like phrase that turns up in popular culture because people mishear things like come up and see me sometime, which never actually happened. That, you know, there's numerous sort of types of misquotings of things, and like Michael Caine never said, you know, not a lot of people know that kind of thing. That was just made, all that kind of stuff. So yes, it's kind of a take on that as well, and it's kind of a cricket thing, which you kind of imagine that like the young Jimmy came from a household where the father was a minister and stuff, so maybe he liked cricket stuff, so he always says how's that and everything like that as well. But yes, it's uncomfortable, and it's not meant to be comfortable because these characters are all horrible, and they're actually worse. That's the sort of main thing from it. I think the humans in a lot of ways are worse than the so-called monsters. You know, who's the real monster out there? So yes, it's all good. As a finisher, I watched a film called The Lady Eve, which had a very young Barbara Stanwyck and a reasonably young Henry Fonda in it. Ooh. It's about a guy who is getting conned by a father and daughter sort of con team on a ship from South America back to America. He's spent a year in the Amazon doing good deeds and working and all this sort of stuff, and he's coming back, and he's very rich, obviously. So she attaches himself to him and gets into his good graces and all that, and then he eventually figures out that she's a con artist, and he just kind of drops her completely. In order to get back at him, she pretends with somebody else to be this English lady and ingratiates herself into his family and everything as well. And it's like a screwball comedy. It's Preston Sturges that
that sounds
directs it. So again, that was like from 1941. It was like a cracking wee film again on. No, that was on Film 4 actually, because they've got a history of showing like all like. During the day, it's like lots of older films and sort of smaller films, and maybe like children's films, and then they show the sort of the blockbuster ones in Film 4, like the 9 o'clock slot, the 11 o'clock slot, that kind of idea. So this was one of the sort of earlier ones, and it's one I'd never seen, and I'd heard it was like Barbara Stanwyck's sort of breakthrough role, and you can tell because she's fantastic, and it's just this is not quite screwball, but there is a lot of fast talking and talking over each other and everything, and people not behaving in the way that they would normally in polite society and all that. She's cracking, and it's so sort of feisty, you would call the character more than anything else, you know. And it's a very good showcase for both of them as well. So yeah, cracking movie, absolutely brilliant.
I'll need to catch that. I meant to say to you, actually, I was flicking through last night, and Infinity Pool is on Film 4 at 11 o'clock at some point next week, and I know I'd recommended that to you, but I think it left Netflix by that point. Oh, have you?
I saw it just before it left Netflix because you'd recommended it, and it had maybe about a week to go, and I thought, right, I'm going to sit down and watch this, and then obviously instantly regretted sitting down and watching because I was like, oh my God, what the actual fuck here? Come on.
Yeah, that was one of those films where I just kept going, what the fuck's happening? What the fuck's going on? That was one of those.
So what about yourself?
I'm going to start off with a couple of books that I've read, which I've loved. So my sweet husband very kindly got me To Cook a Bear by Mikkel Niemi for Christmas, which obviously was what I had reviewed for Disney Plus last year. It was so... Like, I think because I had the TV show in my head, I almost did it in reverse. Now, when you read a book and then you go, I was doing that in reverse. I had like the other characters in, but it was really well written and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I like a period drama murder mystery. That's like right up my street. So that was really good to read. Arnaldur Indridason, who's the Icelandic author, has a new series of books out. Obviously, I'd read the Inspector Erlander books and finished all of them. He now has a new character called Detective Conrad. So he's got a new books out. So I've been reading those to catch up because there's a new one out next week. And I also read Killing Thatcher by Rory Carroll, which is about obviously the IRA's attempts to blow Thatcher up in the hotel in Brighton. Glasgow gets its own chapter. They're talking about getting the number 57 bus through Shawlands and how they captured them in Langside Place just off Vicky Road. So I was like, I know where all of this is. So that was a really interesting read. Obviously, you know how it turns out, but it actually doesn't take away from the tension of some of the descriptions of the setup and the scenes and all that sort of thing. So that was a really good read. And I also read I'm Glad My Mum Died by Jeanette McCurdy. So she is a former Nickelodeon star whose mum basically pushed her into becoming an actress. And already her mum clearly had some sort of like personality disorder, which she was working hard to kind of mitigate and then throw her into a system where obviously there's a lot of like eating disorders, competition. She doesn't name him specifically. She just refers to the creator, but obviously Dan Schneider, who was the head of Nickelodeon, has had allegations brought forward against him. It was it's extremely well written, but it's really hard to read about the way a system like that just chews people up and spits them out essentially at such a young age as well, because she even said herself she knows she's not going to go on and do anything else as an adult. Like, she knows this is it sort of thing. So it kind of put into perspective a lot of likes of what Macaulay Culkin has said and things like that as well, but not getting the support. You know, if you've not got good parents and stuff around you, if you're going into that system, you're just sort of ripe for the picking, as it were. So it was a really, really good read. As I say, just very, very difficult. TV-wise, I watched Stare, which is a new series that's coming to Viaplay with Askell Henny, who was in Sisu. He was the head Nazi in the first film of that. He was in Headhunters and he was also in The Trip. So he's kind of made a career out of playing a bit of a weasel, and he's a bit of a weasel in this as well. He's the sort of faded rock star who's sort of clinging on to his youth in all sorts of cringeworthy ways, and then he has a 16-year-old daughter that he suddenly finds himself having to look after. So, but it's a kind of musical show. There's lots of he sings in it, he performs in it. There's lots of gigs. Some go well, others don't. But he's also directed the series as well. So I think this is kind of one of his first big directing gigs. And it's a very, very good watch. He is really quite compelling to watch in it, because you're just like, what are you doing, man? Like, stop behaving like an arsehole, get your shit together. You're in your 40s, you should be better than this. And he's to watch the whole way through it. But it's a really, really good show, and that was my first Nordic Watch List review of the year, so that was a nice one to kick off on as well. I also watched The Beauty Queen and the Catfish on BBC iPlayer I don't know if you've seen this. No, it's about that girl from Kilmarnock, Adele Rennie, who was like this mega catfish who had conned all of these women, but she'd said things like, she was a doctor. She was pretending to be male, obviously. She was a doctor. She was sending them flowers every day. She was buying them cars. She was talking about going on holiday together. And the weird thing is, she never extracted money from any of them. She just seemed to get the kick out of people thinking they were in a relationship with her. Anyway, it's 3 episodes. It's absolutely mental. For some reason, they're all wearing wigs as opposed to just disguising themselves, with a voice actor or something. Very, very strange. But if you like that sort of true crime thing, it's worth the watch. And speaking of crime, I also watched Agatha Christie's 7 Dials on Netflix.
It's just out this weekend, isn't it? Yeah.
the new one with Helena Bonham Carter, Mia McKenna Bruce, and Martin Freeman. It was okay. It's probably not one of Agatha Christie's best known or sort of best loved stories. I felt like some of it was quite rushed, and I felt the ending didn't really make sense. And then I googled it, and the ending is different from the book. So I was like, maybe they've obviously tried to do something a bit sort of different with it, but it's clearly setting it up for another series. So it's only 3 episodes, and they're about an hour each. Like, I think it's really like well acted. I thought that Mia McKenna Bruce was excellent in it. I see that a lot of reviews have absolutely slated her, and I'm not really sure why, because I actually think she's very charismatic in it and like a very engaging character. But yeah, I would say that it probably isn't my favourite Agatha Christie that I've watched. However, it's cozy January viewing. Everything's all like well, there's a big country house, there's lots of snobbery, you know. If you like that sort of thing, it's worth the watch. This was prior to Christmas, but I did watch The Apprentice on Netflix because it was going to leave there, and I hadn't seen it. Obviously, the Sebastian Stan very strong film. Fuck me, like I could not get over how. I mean, we're talking about him obviously, like in the contemporary sense. He's just always been like a wee shit. Like he's just always been someone who's tried to wheedle his way in, you know, by name dropping or whatever, and then he just drops people when they're of no use to him. I thought Sebastian Stan was brilliant because it's not like a caricature performance. I thought Jeremy Strong, oh my God, see that dead-eyed stare that he does as Roy Cohn. That scared me so much. Like, he just has no soul. But then in a weird way, you sort of end up feeling sorry for him because he's so sick by the end of it, and Trump treats him like crap. Oh, it was so worth the watch. Like, I can understand why he thinks it's an unflattering portrait of him, and that's as it should be, quite frankly.
Yeah, that film kind of disappeared in a lot of ways because it was up for, this is going to be award contention and all that, and then it just kind of went very quiet, and I think that was pressure.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
We also watched, what did I watch? Troll Hunters, inspired by her time in Bergen, which is Andre Øvredal, who did The Autopsy of Jane Doe. The special effects have aged a little bit, but if you just sort of commit yourself to the story that there's trolls in the woods and it's kind of found footage, I actually had loads of fun with it as well. He also did Last Voyage of the Demeter, which I think I'm the only person in the world who actually enjoyed that film, because everybody I've spoken to about it and every review that I've read has said that it was crap. But I really, really liked it, so maybe I just like his work. But I thought that was good fun. Again, sort of found footage horror, which I thought was good fun. I also watched Metropolis, because that is set in the spooky year of 2026. So I thought, let's rewatch that. And oh my God, workers living in this underground society, and they're all going to rise up, but the bigwigs won't let them. So they send a robot in. I love it. It's so good. How could this possibly happen in 2026?
Exactly,
but, again, performances are absolutely phenomenal. And obviously it gives us that really iconic AI sort of robot image, which was used to, you know, it's inspired all sorts of robots since. And I also watched The Third Man and The Wicker Man, because they're both on BBC iPlayer. You couldn't get much more different. That's only different, one word difference in the title, but you can get much more different in terms of films. Absolutely loved both of them as well. And Jaws at 50, which is also on BBC iPlayer, The Definitive Inside Story, which is a documentary on how that film basically almost didn't get made, which is quite amusing to see. Like, they basically didn't have a shark for quite some time, which was a key component of a film called Jaws, but it wasn't really working for them. And finally, I watched Special Unit, The First Murder, which was another review that I had to do. So that is Alex Wanderson, who most people will know as Ivor the Boneless from Vikings. He is playing Detective Otto Himmelstrup, who was a real life person, and it's about the setting up of the first, kind of like the equivalent of like the Danish FBI. So like they use fingerprinting, they're using all these new techniques, and he is sent to investigate a fire at a mayor's house up in Newland. And it turns out that there's obviously a body in the fire, so he has to direct it. It was very, like, I loved the style of it. Like, everything was shot in kind of like sepia lighting. It was very moody. It felt sort of like Hitchcockian at times as well. But there was like kind of weird like flashbacks and stuff through it as well that just, I just loved it. It was, again, like I said, a period drama murder mystery is very much my vibe, and this sort of ticked all of the boxes. So I think it'll probably do the rounds at some film festivals. And if it's at a film festival near you, I would encourage you to go and see it because it's very, very good.
Nice. Good stuff. That's brilliant. Been very busy.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep myself sort of up to date with, like, I wanted to, there's quite a lot of stuff on my like planner, and I was like, I'm going to make a concerted effort to sit down and watch this as opposed to just starting new stuff, which is I'm very, very guilty of, is seeing something shiny and moving on. So I thought I'm going to make a concerted effort to actually go through it all and clear it and watch the stuff that I want to watch. So yeah. Cool.